them.
Junkie Nation, it's time to roll, baby, on MMA Junkie Radio with Gorgeous George and Go. This is what we do and why we do it, baby. We rollin'!
Covering MMA from all over the world, this is the premier stop for all your combat sports needs. MMA Junkie Radio, the only show broadcasting live from the Mandalay Bay Resort and Casino in the fight capital of the world, Las Vegas, Nevada. The lights are on and the mics are hot. It's time to get your MMA fix, junkies. Take it away, Big John.
Gorgeous George and Goes, are you ready? Junkie Nation, are you ready? Well, let's get it on.
From the fight capital of the world, inside the beautiful Mandalay Bay Race and Sportsbook, you are listening to the MMA Junkie Radio Show, the only show that matters. I'm your host, Gorgeous George. With me, as always, is the devious and dastardly Goes. Our East co-host. To my left, it's the fight analyst, Dan Tom. Back east producing, Andre the Giant. What's up?
Hey-o.
Hello.
What's going on?
Friday, June 7th. Ready to wrap up a fun week here of Fight Week on the MMA Junkie Radio Show. We'll be with you for the next couple hours here talking about UFC 238 primarily, but we'll revisit with a couple of big-name fighters. One who called it a career earlier this week, King Muhammed Lawal, the former Strikeforce light heavyweight champion. He will join us at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 Pacific, and then UFC heavyweight Francis Ngannou will visit the studio at 9:30 Eastern, 6:30 p.m. Pacific. So we'll see what's next with the big man. Well, we know what's next with the big man. On June 29th, he headlines UFC on ESPN 3 versus Junior Dos Santos. All right, so let's get to some UFC 238 talk. We'll take advantage of the fact that the fight analyst Dan Tom is here. But look, before we actually start talking about the competition that'll be taking place tomorrow, a couple quick reminders. One, Goes and I will be on the Sportscaster tomorrow. We're going to try and get here even before the main card because there's just too many great fights to talk about and enjoy, so we might as well do it with y'all. So join us for that. Watch along. Sportscaster.com/MMA Junkie. Basically, we're watching the fights with you, so we just sync up. And if you didn't order the pay-per-view, then I guess what? We're your play-by-play guys. Even though we don't really, really drive the play-by-play and analysis like that. We're just, we become fans on Saturday night. So we'll have some beer flowing and some food and just hanging out, having some fun. There'll be some parlay tickets here, hopefully some winners. So it'll be a lot of fun. Today, the fighters weighed in, and with, 13 minutes, 27 minutes to spare? What was it? I saw the headline. 27 minutes to spare, they all made weight. And I'll give it a 99 out of 100. And if you're all going, oh, come on, man, you can't just go 100 for 100, I'll tell you why I didn't. But I really don't know the backstory or what. Oh, well, let's see if you guys can guess why I'm giving it a 99 out of 100 on the fighters and their weigh-ins and all that. Remember, they had 14 fights, so 28 fighters had to make weight. But why do you think I did that?
You did it because of the following, George. And the following,
Jimmy Rivera had to get down to his towel.
It's going to be that.
No.
What Dan just said.
What
What did he weigh in at, Jimmy Rivera?
He always needs the towel. He's like Benson Henderson at
136.
135. He's always does the towel.
Well, then the 98, I guess. Well, but he made it. He made it. He made it. Yeah. So
I don't know why you.
That's a good guess, though.
99.
Huh?
I don't know why you would. Drop
the reason I dropped it to a
a
99 is I was hoping Caitlin Chukagian would also weigh in at 125 and make championship weight. Because once it's official, you can't re-weigh in.
Yeah.
So Joanne Calderwood made it to 125. But let's just say someone stepped on a nail or something like that in these next 24 hours, and there had to be some sort of a shakeup. And let's just say the UFC was leaning that way. I don't know that for a fact, but let's just say they were. She'd have to say, I can't do it, and it would have to be Calderwood that steps in the fight.
Okay, but let me ask you this.
Right.
In her mind and in her corner's mind, both girls, do you think they even thought of that and said, nah, we're just not going to do it, or you think it didn't occur to them?
Well, no, they were pegged as a kind of a backup here.
Yeah?
They really were, yeah. Now that I think about it, Rivera, Jan, Munoz, and Sterling should have done the same. Sterling did at 134, but that one wasn't talked about as much. Actually, Sterling and Munoz, I think, are the two that are running ahead of the other two. So maybe more on those guys. Munoz came within 0.5, but why wouldn't you, right? Now I heard that extra pound when these guys are dehydrated is 30 minutes of agony, so that could be the answer right there.
Totally.
But yeah,
I guess that's you, just normal people going for whatever their run is, right? And if you're used to 5 miles, whatever at the end when you feel like, if they go run another one, that's probably what that would feel like. Right?
yes.
You're just exhausted. You got nothing left in you. I can understand.
And I know I'm being a jackass here. All right, saying, George, I mean, come on. You have every right to go. They all made weight. Shut the fuck up and enjoy the fights in 24 hours. I'm just saying, 99 out of 100. That was just something that stood out to me. Dan, Tom?
I was just going to tack on. You reminded me of something I forgot to tweet out earlier in the same regard. Yeah, even Cerrone 155.5. Does that mean if he beats Ferguson, he does not become the uncrowned lightweight champion? Because Dan Tom's keeping tabs on that title, the real title.
Yeah. He would have too, man. Cerrone, like, you don't put anything past him. There's just no
he looked rough on that scale, though.
Too
man.
Tough for that dude.
He looked rough on that scale, though. You see him weigh in?
Yes. Well, no, I didn't. I didn't see the morning
this
weigh
way
in.
now. That since he's gotten
Really?
back, he always looks that way.
So sad,
He'll still go 5 rounds if you want him to, but
these guys are all just what they say, flesh and bones at that point, man.
Yeah.
Guys and gals, and I should emphasize gals. Is it me or is this the most females that have fought kind of like on a pay-per-view? We got 5 matches? Calderwood and Chikagian, Hill and Jinan, Grasso and Kovalevich, Ansarov and Suarez, and the title fight of Shevchenko versus I.
What was the card that we called Lilith Fair one time?
It was in L.A.
I will say this: I felt that there was a lot more 3-round decisions in my good old Dan Tom's tape
Oh,
study
yeah?
when this happened. So yeah, you feel it.
I think it was Rousey versus Ngannou, and I think the co-main event also had a female fight. Oh, I'll look it up. Okay. Rousey when she fought Ngannou. Did anybody know off the top of their head what UFC that was?
Rousey's Ngannou. That was UFC. Was that 187? With the Travis Brown and Arlovsky fight happened under the card.
Well, I would imagine if it's not, it's got to at least.
It was Rousey Nunes. So let me just look up Rousey because she headlined it.
Rousey Nunes 207.
What's that?
No, the one was against Kat Zingano.
Yeah,
in L.A.
Yeah, was that 187?
No, that was Amanda Nunes.
184. 184. I think Travis Brown fought Brandon.
It was 184. Right? Correct. Yeah.
Damn.
So on this fight card, see, this is why I called it Lilith Fair because it was Rousey versus Kat Zingano, and Holly Holm versus Raquel Pennington. So it was like main and co-main.
Joe Rogan laughed his ass at that.
I mean, I really hope there wasn't anyone that. Well, fuck it. Someone's walking this planet that was offended at that, but fuck them.
At Lilith Fair?
Probably.
Nah, come on, man. No.
All right.
Nobody's offended at that.
Hey, you know what? If you want to participate with the show, too, because the guests will be in the second hour, call in 877-FIGHT-93, 877-344-4893. Hit us up on Twitter at MMA on SiriusXM. That works for our show and all the shows on the channel, so you can interact with the hosts and the producers.
I can't believe I'm going to say this, but I kind of want to hear another Marco parlay. He hit that one, right? A 5-team?
Yeah, that was about a good, I want to say it was a Sunrise, Florida card. I just happened to be going through some old notes, and I looked at it, and I go, what's this fool doing?
What
and
was
it hit. Because I'm always bashing him when he loses it.
What was it? Because I was just talking to Goz about this, and I was listening. Listening to the Wednesday's episode in the car, and you were just saying Marco hit the 5-team, and I got out of the car and walked in here. So I just left off MMA Junkie Radio before you guys paid it off.
I might be able to find it in the notes, but I just wrote just to give him props.
Shouts to Marco either way.
Yeah, call in and give us your parlay. Doesn't have to be 5, right? 5's a little bit more. 3?
3's fine, yeah. Whatever.
Give me your pen.
Okay. All right. So, guys and gals listening, UFC 238 is ready to go. The champions and their challengers all made the championship weight. So the guys had to get down to 135, and that's Cejudo and Moraes, not get that 1 pound allowance that the commissions allow because there is a title at stake. And then the ladies had to get down to 125. That's Jessica Ai and Valentina Shevchenko. Jessica Ai went out of her way to say that she was already on weight yesterday. So they did the weigh-ins in the morning. Everybody, there was 27 minutes to spare. It's like a 2-hour window. That got done. That was great news. And then today they had the ceremonial weigh-ins, and I mean everybody really, really is in good spirits. Cowboy Cerrone and Tony Ferguson had a nice little stare down. They were playful with each other, and all's good. You know what I mean? So here we go. I mean, like, buckle up. You know what I mean, fellas? It's time. I mean, we get these fights here in 24 hours, and it's going to be a ton of fun.
I am down, dude. But I'm looking at the fights right now. What is your Tom?
Yes.
What is your stay away fight?
Oh, there's a couple.
There's a lot of
especially,
them, dude.
but mainly it's my fights to avoid, which you can find at the Protect Your Neck podcast. My fights to avoid are going to be definitely Darren Stewart versus Bevon Lewis. I actually took the dog there, but again, I actually took the dogs in all the fights I'm avoiding because I'm not confident in it. And believe it or not, I'm a big Eddie Wineland fan. You know, I'm the old school fan, but I actually taken this new guy, Popoff, who isn't going to be anything good. Believe me, he's only 36. He's fought nothing but cans, but he's been Muay Thai all his life, and we've seen those Muay Thai guys kind of come over. Sure, that one guy that was attached to Tiger Muay Thai and Kyrgyzstan as well. I think she was one of Shevchenko's partners. He kind of flopped a bit. I think he even got knocked out on his debut. But I don't know, man. Weiland's only fighting like once a year. You know, I'm kind of only seeing the same things from him, and I'm a big fan of his. But like, I looked at him, okay, well, he's gonna do the vet move and take him down. He's got underrated wrestling. We saw him wrestle against Faber, right? The problem is that, and the only one other takedown he's gotten. He's only gotten 2 takedowns in his whole UFC tenure. Both of them come in Obama's first term. Same time around. Tony Ferguson hasn't lost since Obama's first term either. I know, right? So I'm like, so am I really gonna count on this guy to, you know, after the neck surgery and all the et ceteras and the jaws and the talks about retirement, the retirements? I don't know how, you know, I can see a pick and Eddie Wineland being the favorite, but stay away from that fight.
Can I give you mine?
But you do like Stewart over Bevon Lewis.
I did take Stewart, but it's not a very confident pick. In fact, it feels really bad because I'm essentially betting that, and if you are betting Stewart, you're betting that the same thing that happened to Bevon Lewis in his last fight against Uriah Hall is going to happen here, where he's winning the fight until he loses.
Okay.
Alexa Grasso, Karolina Kowalkiewicz. I want nothing to do with that.
Yes.
You just want to enjoy it.
So it's such an even matchup to me in my eyes.
Same with Chukagian and Calderwood I put under. And I have the dogs on both those, by the way.
So these are stayaways, guys?
I may or may not have sprinkled on Grasso when the plus number popped back up, and I may or may not have sprinkled at a Calderwood at a Degenerate Love. But, yeah, I took the dogs, but they're officially stayaways.
Okay.
I am going to declare my parlay. Marlon Moraes.
3 teams or 5?
Mm-hmm.
3.
3 fighters, sorry. Okay.
Moraes, Ferguson, Suarez.
Man, we're really close. You're taking that big chalk,
Ferguson.
Huh?
Yeah. Okay. Here's where I may turn into
give me Jan.
A really picky fella.
Get.
Tony Ferguson is as lean as you get on weigh-in day. But was he a little less lean today, or maybe was I looking too much into the ceremonial picks? Video.
Leslie, no, he looked. Did he look
just like he normally does?
Lean, like normal, yeah.
Okay.
And
I know I'm splitting hairs here. You saw how Chandler reacted one time. I told him, "Hey, were you a little less?" I don't even have the nerve to say chubby or anything because they're not that. I just say a little less lean.
Yeah,
and they get offended at soft.
I
didn't do a thorough microscope, but he was one of the guys I looked at for that reason, George. Real interested to see how he looked, and I thought he looked good. And then furthermore, I even talked to someone who was on the ground. Good old Aaron Bronstetter, shouts to him from TSN, and he said Ferguson looked good too.
Okay.
I think he's picking Cerrone
because he's literally ripped. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Shredded. The guy's like 6'1", if I'm not mistaken, right? Or 5'11". He's a tall 55er.
He is. He's 6 o'clock, but he's 6. But UFC's website, which is like has Valentina Shevchenko as the 14th women's ranked flyweight. That's how they have it. Actually, they're all over on it. They have women's with an apostrophe S number 14 instead of champion next to Valentina Shevchenko's name on the website.
Wow.
Like, it's ridiculous. Like the stats jump. Rafael dos Anjos has been 5'7" since 2007, but he goes up to welterweight. All of a sudden he's 5'9". And then I guess now they've settled on 5'8". Like, I don't understand how they're doing it. Don't go by the stats. SureDog is late to update, but they're a bit more accurate. Go to Tapology, SureDog, and then get the best average. Usually you're going to find that SureDog, Tapology are on the same page. The UFC website is not. But actually, the one time I did see that, I thought Tony Ferguson looked at how you're describing, was actually the UFC 209 weigh-ins, where he was healthy and Khabib wasn't. And he actually noted on that he was doing some different things with his body. Even thinking about going to, maybe moving up or moving down. He was like teasing moving in weight, and his body looked different, but he looks pretty consistent each time he comes in. Whereas Cerrone, like we were just talking, George, he looks like rough for every time of the scale, but you can't look too into that because Cerrone will just do 5 rounds the next day like nothing.
It's nothing.
Can't pay attention to anything that revolves around Cerrone.
Yeah, it
It makes no sense. He's the biggest mystery in
You
all
see his
mixed
big
martial
farmer's
arts.
tan he's got on, like the wife beater farmer's tan.
Yeah. Letting people know he ain't going out on the wakeboard and nothing.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. That dude's a character, man. We're gonna miss him when he's done. But I like the fact that he said something interesting in one of those little videos. He just didn't want his legacy to be the best fighter to never win a title. Like now he's got a little bit of that hunger to go for the title. Whereas for many years he just said he didn't care, And a lot of fighters say that, want to stack paper. Now a lot of them also say it when they know they're out of that picture for a while because, look, I mean, it just helps you. So we all have an ego, and it just kind of helps you to point the questioning in another direction. You know what I mean? But if you've already lost twice to the champ, or if you know that you're in a stacked division, you're coming off, a 2-2 run, you're not, you know that by answering a question like that, immediately the pushback's going to be, how the hell are you talking about a title run? You're 2-2. You know what I mean? So oftentimes they'll say other stuff. So in whatever direction the career is going, you usually see how they cozy up to certain narratives.
I'm glad you mentioned that because I was actually thinking of this analogy, and it has to do with LA. I managed to tie the LA Lakers to an MMA analogy, so I'm sure I get you guys' attention here. Mm-hmm. But does that even matter? Because, for example, I think the champion thing only matters for something you always preach about, George, which I agree, money at this point in his career. I don't know if the championship really does much for Cerrone's legacy because even though you can't compare apples for oranges, especially a franchise to a fighter, much less a team to a fighter, and yes, I know LA has a bunch of teams that had a bunch of champions and championship runs, etc. iterations, but Cerrone had many iterations of his own career, and you just take the championship runs out for a second. The reason I tell you guys all the time why I like the Lakers, even some of the Lakers lesser known teams like the Elgin Campbell, Vlade Divac, Eddie Jones iteration in the 90s, because Lakers, no matter their iteration, were always action fighters. It wasn't like, Boston, they were defensive stalwarts in the Bill Russell era, and no. Lakers were always action fighters. They were always consistent. There were different iterations of them. They had to evolve through the years, different players, so forth. And we've seen the same with Cerrone, right? He's always been that action fighter from the WEC, but technically he still continues to grow, kind of breaking that. He still continues to put new people around him. And if I had to say, what the Los Angeles Lakers of the MMA or UFC, but a guy like Donald Cerrone, you can always count on him. There's no matter what iteration, there's something he's going to catch your attention. You're not gonna miss it.
He's always popping. Even when he's had a couple losses in a row, he pops up on a card, and you're like, okay, I'm down because his style is fun. Whether it's on the ground or whether it's on the feet, and he's just developed a character within Donald Cerrone. He's the cowboy. His fights don't suck ever. There's been, I guess the only thing if I wanted to ask for was just a little bit more of that gangster swag that I like. Like when Nate Diaz flipped his hat, I would have wanted a good shove back maybe. But for the most part, that's just not him, But he doesn't need all that because he's just the cowboy. And the Cowboys done some work over the years. But you're right. He's been good for so long that, luckily the Lakers have had pockets here and there where we haven't been, more as of late. But, since 1979, we got Magic Johnson. Been doing all right.
Get your licks in now. Things are going to start changing.
Let's take a quick break, though. We got to take a quick break. We'll come back. We'll keep talking a little bit about Cowboy and Ferguson. We even got a little bit of audio for you guys. We heard a lot from Ferguson. Now let's talk a little bit more about Cowboy. And, again, we'll take your calls. So hang in there with us. 877-FIGHT-93, 877-344-4893. We'll be right back.
Junkie Radio.
All right, we're talking a little bit about UFC 238, which takes place tomorrow night in Chicago, Illinois. Of course, when you get home, or when you're at home listening on SiriusXM connected devices and speakers, don't forget about MMAJunkie.com, the 5-time winner of the best media source for the World MMA Awards. We are all locked up on UFC 238. We got reporters, videographers on the ground in Chicago. We got people at home hustling. So MMAJunkie.com is your spot this weekend. And really, if you're an MMA fan, why even go anywhere else? We got you. All right, so UFC 238 is what we're talking about. We heard a little bit of from Ferguson yesterday on some audio cuts. We invite you all to check out the SiriusXM app, commercial-free and in HD quality anytime you miss a show. It's got all the shows, not just us. But now let's hear a little bit from Donald Cerrone as he talks to Brett Okamoto from ESPN, talking about what might be next for him after this weekend.
I think I'm going to get through Tony, and I think Khabib or Dustin are going to get injured, and I'm going to fill in September in Abu Dhabi.
Huh? What makes you feel that way?
Don't know. Just have a hunch.
Are you usually good with these hunches?
Don't know. Maybe my mind just is because then I get to keep fighting, right? Then all of a sudden September I'm rocking again.
Yeah. When did you start feeling in your gut, or is it in your head that one of those two guys is going to get injured?
Oh, well, Khabib's just really prone to it, man. I was supposed to fight him 3 or 4 times, so every time he got injured, he just kind of, I think his training mentality and high pace that he pushes, he's prone for injury.
Is anybody else's mind just racing right now, like mine, after hearing that?
Yeah, I kind of wish I didn't hear it.
Oh, my God. So
Can you imagine?
Share your thoughts, and I'll tell you what I'm thinking.
I was just going to say it's kind of – I want to bounce it over to Ghost because it's kind of back to what you just said where, like, you almost can't listen to certain things. Does this kind of like hit the nail on the head for you, Ghost? Because it does for me when we both kind of looked at each other last segment and kind of nodded and go. Because me and you both have the same read when it comes to Cerrone, and stuff like this doesn't help it. It doesn't help it at all.
I don't – for one, I don't want to even think of the scenario, and two – that dude needs to focus on what he's got ahead of him.
Yes.
And he does these things where it's like...
But it's also boring when you hear, I'm only focused on this fight. I'm not even thinking about something else. So it's kind of refreshing for someone to do that. But, yeah, you're right. That's never a wrong thing to say. Ferguson's a beast. He's got a beast in front of him. But where my mind was racing was, is there any subliminal message here, right, that he's sprinkling right there? Like, for example, John Morgan tweeted earlier today that he saw, I think, a boot on
Cynthia Calvillo.
So did somebody witness a Poirier or Khabib, I don't know, having some sort of a problem that might prevent him? Could he mean that? Or could he mean that he's headed to Abu Dhabi to face off against another lightweight in an insurance matchup in case something were to happen to Khabib and Poirier? So nothing's happened yet, but just in case, he's ready to step in.
I think the latter.
So, could it be that? And if it is that, could that be Conor? Which then also makes you think it can't be, because Conor's a Vegas guy or a New York guy. I don't know him to be anything else. But in Abu Dhabi, didn't they build a little mini stadium last time? Like, maybe they can do it. I mean, Abu Dhabi, they're slinging hundies like no problem. I think they tip hundies over there. So maybe that is a spot where you ask for $2,000 for a ringside seat, and maybe Conor McGregor does go over there. He's not too happy with Vegas. He's probably not welcomed in New York, or I don't know. Maybe he is. But maybe that's not the craziest thing we've ever heard either.
It is not going to happen. If you bring up that scenario one more time,
what, him going out?
I will stab you.
But what if Dana promises somebody a title shot?
There's no way that they're going to put those two on the same card and not have them fight each other. Have them in that area where people don't really like nonsense that Conor McGregor attracts.
Yeah.
The Irish coming over being drunken fools and doing whatever they do. That ain't gonna play out over there. You know how much trouble that's gonna be? There's no way.
In 2022, Qatar is gonna host the World Cup, and if Ireland makes it, you don't think they're gonna come over? I mean, yes, the Middle East. There are some cultural differences.
To kill that guy, dude. No.
I believe Abu Dhabi. I believe. No, I think you're confused. I think you're lumping the whole Middle East. Okay, I think
I know it's different.
Conor
there.
has been out to Dubai or Abu Dhabi or one of those places, and everything's been fine. I think you're lumping it all together, like, because it's a big Muslim area or whatever. But I don't know. I'm pretty sure Conor's been a lot of places where he's probably not safe.
There were a lot of people, good people, that just silly little cultural things. Like I remember the Octagon girls. They laid out by the pool, and you're not allowed to show your feet there, and they got kind of chewed out for it. There's little things like that people don't know about. It's not a scenario to bring Conor McGregor in.
So then, who would Cowboy be fighting?
They probably wouldn't even let Brian Stann come out if he was still fighting. I'm proud to be an American, or at least I know I'm free.
I don't even think they'll put him on the same.
Why are you guys so under the impression that we're not welcomed in Abu Dhabi?
It's not that. It's not. You're not going to put those two guys in the same vicinity of each other. The last time they were around each other, it was mayhem. Not unless they're going to fight. There is no reason to put them next to each other for any reason.
Maybe.
What if a fight breaks out and it ruins your main event? Or what if that's what they want? And then they slip them in. I don't know. But I'm just saying.
No. Or they're just trying to set up the ultimate buddy cop movie where, like, the Sultan's got a problem, but only two people can solve it if they team up, and they hate each other.
Adam Sandler presents.
I don't know. Well,
yeah, right,
I guess maybe listening to the audio probably just filled our mind with so many directions of what might be happening here. But let's do another audio cut. This is Dana White talking to Brett Okamoto, and Conor McGregor's name comes up.
He wants the rematch. He feels he deserves the rematch before anybody else. So we've got to see how these fights play out. You got to this weekend is a very big, important fight in that whole division and what's going to happen. Then in September, the Khabib fight will play out in Abu Dhabi, and we'll see what's next.
All right. Did you catch that interview?
I've caught parts of it.
I wish Brett would have asked him, what do you think he deserves a rematch?
I believe that may be coming up in one of the cuts.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, he asked Dana White if he thinks he deserves the rematch.
I thought he
Do you guys
said that he would be open
rematch?
to it. I just remember his answer.
Did Conor McGregor perform so well that he deserves a rematch?
Needs a win.
No.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. So I don't know why that automatically just didn't get shut down. Like right away, I can think of Justin Gaethje having a problem with that.
Yeah. I can think of a lot of people having a problem with it. Here, the main problem is he doesn't deserve it. Okay?
We can say Kevin Lee is out of the equation. Edson Barbosa is out of the equation. Ali Quinta is out of the equation. And the loser of Cerrone and Ferguson is going to be out of the equation. The winner is going to be in the equation, and Justin Gaethje is also in the equation. Maybe it's Gaethje in the winner of Ferguson versus Cerrone. Ferguson probably would turn that down because I think he would be like, what more do I need to do?
He's like, do I have to clear out all the guys that Khabib and Conor don't want to fight?
But Cerrone is so nutty that he would probably do it. So maybe that's it right there. Maybe him and Gaethje in Abu Dhabi. But yeah, I just it makes me cringe to hear that Conor thinks he deserves the rematch.
Well, he has to say that though, right?
I suppose, but Dana White, that shouldn't even be coming out of his mouth because the only way he should be saying anything is by saying Conor deserves the rematch, as silly as that sounds. He just lost his last fight, and had it been a classic, guys, I'd be like, well, what are you going to do? You know what I mean? He gave him a run. It was a classic. We got to run it back. But it wasn't a classic. It was pretty dominant. All right? Had it been, trust me, I know the power of Conor McGregor, and I understand that the UFC at any moment should feature him in huge, huge fights. But he's got to help us out a little bit. And getting dominated through those 4 rounds isn't that. And then being away and not getting just one win isn't all that. And then what's his last win? Is it Alvarez, guys?
The riot
2016
afterwards probably helped him a little bit.
I mean, it's just it makes that makes zero sense. That's something he likes to say. 0 cents. That makes 0 sense.
It doesn't make any sense.
The winner of Cerrone Ferguson should be, obviously in line. Only Justin Gaethje can put his foot down and say, "Hold on a second. Cerrone just dropped down. I realize the Ferguson win is huge, but what about me?" He has every right to say, "What about me?"
I'm curious. I want to go listen to this interview to see if he says anything about Tony Ferguson. I mean, that's kind of, what's his attitude like? Because Tony said some stuff as far as kind of hinting he doesn't like the way.
He's hurt
Dana White's talking about him
tripping incident. Yeah,
and what about what happens if he wins and this and that, and it's just really annoying. Any talk that doesn't involve Tony Ferguson, the guy who got to the belt first, guy who's gonna after this weekend, if he beats Donald Cerrone, he'll have the most impressive winning streak in any division. I dare say even active or not, when you really look at the history timeline. That's insane, and we're not talking about this guy.
Let me ask you a question, though. And I know you're a huge Tony Ferguson fan. Did he make a mistake, though, by passing up that fight that Poirier took and subsequently won? Because he wouldn't be fighting Cerrone. He'd be fighting in Abu Dhabi versus Habib.
Playing the belt game, yes, but would he still, would he still, That's tough. I like him against Max Holloway. I think he would have. I would have picked him to win that fight. So yeah, hindsight being 20/20, sure. But I mean, Tony Ferguson technically should have been fighting for the belt after he beat Edson Barboza back in 2015.
No, I understand
that was, So it's like I mean, there's so much hindsight that I think more falls on the UFC than Tony, especially with the nugget that he revealed this week that his management he's refusing to comment any further on it, but he is not afraid to throw that obvious hint out there that's why these title fights didn't come to fruition, because of his management was blocking his path so that Conor could get to the title.
Yeah.
And I mean, again, this guy's overcome physical health, mental health, family issues, surgeries was under physical health, politics, management, UFC. Fighters fighters getting injured, pulling out on him twice with Khabib. I mean, we credit these fighters for having to do 2 of the 5. Tony's had to do 5 of the 5, and he still doesn't have a belt.
Let's take a quick break, and we'll come back. We'll keep talking about UFC 238, which is upon us. It's tomorrow night in Chicago, Illinois. And don't forget, Goes and I will be on the Sportscaster. We'll be doing a watch-along with you guys. Go to sportscaster.com/MMA Junkie. Tomorrow, officially at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. Eastern. But we'll probably be there sooner. We'll be right back.
For rating all their snacks. They are Gorgeous George and Goes. And this is MMA Junkie Radio.
Tonight at 9 Eastern, it's Game 4 of the NBA Finals between the Toronto Raptors and the Golden State Warriors. Listen to all of the action from Oakland on NBA Radio, Sirius 207, XM86, and streaming on your phone and at home on SiriusXM connected devices and speakers. So tonight's Game 4, and the Raptors are up 2-1. After this, they go back to Toronto. Now, G-State's been hobbling because they got some injuries. Mm-hmm. Kevin Durant is out of tonight's game. Klay Thompson apparently will play. But if Toronto were to win, they would be up 3-1 with 2 games left in Toronto. Not looking good for G-State. I won't go so far as to say stick a fork in them, all that bullshit, because I've seen too much. G-State really is a great team.
Especially with them.
You have to tip your hat to them. But if G-State can get to 2-2, there's 3 games left. Granted, 2 are in Toronto, but maybe there's still a Durant comeback at some point. Man, you got to feel like they feel pretty good. You know what I mean? Because they've had to go through a lot. So it's a key game tonight.
Man, I hope Drake's ready. I mean, he's just such a key, integral part of that team.
He didn't go to the first one, or the one in G-State, right?
Did he? I don't know.
I don't know. I wonder if he'll go to this one.
Oh.
Not sure. All right, let's talk to Kevin in Chicago, and if you want to follow Kevin, the number to call in is 877-FIGHT83, 877-344-4893. What's up, Kevin? How you doing?
893. What's up, guys?
What's up?
You know what's making me mad? These people are brushing off Henry Cejudo versus Marlon Moraes, talking about Tony Ferguson versus Cerrone should be the main event. Oh, that's the people's main event. If Tony Ferguson took that fight with Max Holloway, he would be the main event. He would be fighting Khabib in Abu Dhabi. He didn't take that fight, and so he has to live with being the third fight. And Cowboy Cerrone, I mean, that dude has every chance in the world. He got destroyed by RDA. He's going to fold in the big moment just like he does every time. So,
damn.
I mean, Marlon Moraes versus Henry Cejudo. To me, this is like the most high-level mixed martial arts right now. You got Marlon Moraes is coming off 2 devastating knockouts against guys who've never been knocked out in 10 seconds. Aljamain Sterling, a total beast. Jim Rivera is like 23-1 or some ridiculous. Knocked him out. Henry Cejudo, he beat Demetrius Johnson, who some say the best fighter of all time. If not all time, he's definitely top 5. And then he finished T.J. Dillashaw, who's considered the bantamweight GOAT. And he was on drugs, EPO. Finished him. Man, the amount of people, the fanboys just saying, oh, the people's main event, blah, blah, blah. Come on, man. The people's main event, that's bullcrap. You got to respect this high-level MMA. What do you guys think about that?
I respect the high-level MMA. I think they're both great matchups. Question is who you got in that main event.
It's not an insult to say this is the people's main event. All people are saying is it's the fight most people are looking forward to because those guys have been around for so long and they've done well and they're fun fighters to watch that you just know it's going to be a barn burner. But it doesn't mean that, I mean, it could be that that's a 10 and the other one's a 9.9. A 9.9 is not bad, right?
Yeah.
But, yeah, like I said, I mean, Moraes and Cejudo just haven't been in the UFC as long. So that's as simple as that.
And their stories haven't been alive on the MMA stage as long. Cerrone's story goes back far. People want to see. You know, some people, even as fans, were counting him out that he's never going to touch gold at this point, you know. And this is kind of that crucial crossroads. You could argue this is his last title run, whereas, you know, I'm not going to re-dive into my tangent. You guys know where I stand, but at the history book stand, one of the most impressive winning streaks ever, an uncrowned champion, if you will. I do agree with Kevin, though. Not enough people are talking about it. It is high level. Man, Kevin, I'm high-fiving you all day on those points. I just feel like if you're going to make the people's main event jab, this is like the last fight you want to jab at because literally I cannot think of a better people's main event than this fight in this kind of scenario. You've got 2 title fights at the top. And, you know, a fight to shine to really earn that people's main event spot, I can't think of a better example. But I will side with you, Kevin, though. And not enough people are giving credit to this main event either.
Very recognizable names, man, for hardcores and the common fan.
What's
Am I still on?
Yeah.
I was going to say, what was I going to say? I get some of the fans that want to see it, they consider it, but for journalists like Ariel Helwani, he was saying it. Oh, this is the people's main event. This should be the main event. This is the real main event. That's what I'm talking about.
Okay.
That's where I disagree.
Yeah.
The title fight should be the main event.
That was part of our daily debate.
I'm with you.
And the argument there is if you make that your main event over your belts, you're saying that it's more important than the belts. The belts always have to be the most important thing.
Yes.
Yeah. All right, Kev.
And the reason this is they're not as known because they're both in their prime. Cejudo and Moraes, they are absolutely in their peak prime. Cowboy Cerrone is not in his prime. He's definitely past his prime. Ferguson isn't even in his prime. I just think the athleticism between Moraes and Cejudo is as good as it gets, and the talent is as good as it gets. I mean, this fight is going to be it's as high level as it gets. Period. This is arguably the two best athletes in the sport. Henry Cejudo's Olympic gold medal is more impressive than anything Daniel Cormier has ever done. His double champ status, more impressive than Khabib's undefeated streak. An Olympic gold medal is peak athletic performance, something that goes back BC Olympic Games. So I think people need to respect that. I know people that make a joke out of it. Oh, it was Olympic gold medal. If I had the Olympic gold medal, I'd be saying it from the rooftops too.
Thank you, Kevin.
All right, yeah, thanks, Kevin. Enough. Wow. So winning an Olympic gold is more impressive than being a champ in the UFC. I don't know about that one. That's an argument for another day. I would not say that Ferguson's out of his prime because he hasn't lost yet. And I thought he did well in his last fight. He was facing a former WEC and UFC champion. What's he supposed to do? Like, hit Pettis 100 times and not get hit once? I mean, you know what I mean? Like, this is the highest level of fighting. That's how those fights are supposed to go. But to be 14-1 in that division is pretty damn amazing. So he's definitely in his prime. Cowboy, man, that's tough to say.
He's fighting like he's in his prime.
It's tough to say because he's fighting well. You know, did you see what he did to Ally Quinta? I mean, that was very impressive.
Hey, is it more impressive?
What?
The gold medal? Think about this though. The Olympics are every 4 years.
Yeah.
So for 4 years, that dude is the best at one thing. In the UFC, think about how many championship belts get passed around. In 4 years, you could say there's been this many champions for this.
So Cejudo has a chance to be a champ on Saturday, and if he is, then he's got a really good claim to just being the best combat sports athlete of all time. But yeah.
I'd say it's just preference, but by the numbers, definitely Olympic medals have got to be more impressive, in my opinion. Just because, think about the sample size, whether it's wrestling, judo, or whatever you pick, you automatically have this huge sample size that's larger than MMA. It's in there's more politics because there's more institutions that have been built around cottage industry because it's been around for so long, much longer than MMA. So you're having to compete into that. So I don't think it's a surprise that when you have an Olympic gold medalist, whether it's swimming, this or that, they're chiseled, and they're and they're bred from a young age when you go back and look at their story. Whereas, sure, we have Daniel Cormier's of the world, who granted doesn't fit the chisel description, but he's an Olympic-level athlete. He's a champ. You can even argue that, well, BJ Penn, he was such a freak athlete. If he wanted to get into something, he probably could have been an Olympic medalist. He was another double champ. Okay, George St. Pierre, another super athlete. If he wanted to get into things like wrestling, he was holding his own with a Canadian, with the Canadian national team, right? Okay, you make those arguments, but then you have, and not hating, but then you have like the Holly Holmes of the world. She could have been a champ a couple times by now, and she stumbled into kickboxing at age 16. I mean, MMA still kind of has that factor where people can kind of just fall into it and become a world champion at the highest level. I mean, we're still not past that area yet. Some divisions maybe. We're not going to see that happen at 155. There's not going to be a guy like, I just started doing this at age 24 and I'm going to be the lightweight champion. That's probably going to be the last division you'll see that in. But the fact is, at the highest level, we still have a lot of that.
All right. Well, I mean, that's an interesting question.
It is. Made me think a little bit.
Yeah.
No, it's a good question. Yeah, it's a good question.
But now's not the time. We'll have to maybe make a
daily debate
debate out of it. That's what we need to do. And just maybe bring a good, like a 5. We'll go 5 strong on a panel. Maybe have one of the guys call in. But there's just many different things to cite. Some champs were like gifted. I mean, it couldn't have been any easier, especially the second one. Once you're a champ, they're running to make you another champion in another division.
Connors was one of the easier ones for sure.
I just think about some of these long roads that some of these guys have had to be a champion in, and it's pretty challenging. Mm-hmm. We got to take one more break. It's MMA Junkie Radio on Fight Nation, channel 156. Stay close. We'll be right back. Don't forget, it's Fight Week, UFC 238. That's what we're talking about. And when we come back, we'll talk a little bit more with Dan Tom about his breakdown on some of these fights.
Good, you're still here. The boys were just getting warmed up. Now the real show begins. Take it away, boys.
All right, so our fight analyst, Dan Tom, you can follow him on Twitter at DanTomMMA. He's honest. He's frequently tweeting on fight day, and honestly, nobody puts in more work than this guy. So if he gets it wrong, don't bust his balls, man. The motherfucker tried his best, and this is an impossible sport to go 12-0, or tomorrow I guess would be 14-0. As long as you're winning more than you're losing, that's all you can hope for, all right? There's going to be wins and there's going to be losses. I got friends that just hate to lose. You can give them 10 winners, and the minute they lose, they're like, well, I thought this guy knew something. You know, you're like, well, come on already.
Trade those out. Look at our junkie stat picks. What's the average for both readers and the staff? It's usually, what, high 60 percentiles, like enough to get you first place. And that's still a D if we're talking about,
pretty much
letter grades. So, yeah, that puts it in perspective, doesn't it, G?
Yeah. Now, Dan's got a podcast. It's called the Protect Your Neck Podcast. You can catch it on iTunes. Check it out. And before every card, he's pretty much in there banging and letting you know what's up, you know, what he saw on film and which way he's leaning. So we're going to give you a little rapid-fire edition of it. But, again, you can check it out on iTunes. I recommend a subscription. And give him a review, man. 5 stars. It helps everybody.
Thanks.
Henry Cejudo versus Marlon Moraes. Folks, go to our YouTube page or go to MMAJunkie.com. We've already done he's done some thorough writing on it. And you have our predictions. Same goes for Shevchenko and I. Not me, Jessica I. Donald Cerrone and Tony Ferguson. So I'm going to skip to Rivera and Peter Yan.
Yeah, there we go.
All right. It's kind of like, I don't want to say old school versus new school, because Rivera hasn't been in the UFC that long either,
Right.
but Yan just kind of came out of nowhere, and this guy's a big favorite in this fight. Minus 340 to Rivera's 260. I don't see it that way. I think it's going to be a lot closer, and I'm the only one on stat picks that took Rivera.
Wow.
I was shocked.
Are you really?
That. Yeah.
I thought a few people would take
But tell
it.
me, how do you see this fight?
By name value alone, I get it. I mean, I was one of the few people that was early on touting Rivera as the dark horse. One of the few people to take him against guys like Pedro Munoz. Granted, it was a close fight. But that being said, I think we've seen a little more Rivera. And from, emotionally to maybe stylistically, maybe some things got figured out. He's not the biggest guy for the weight class, although he's stocky, and there's power that comes with that, but we haven't really seen him knocking people out lately. And, I took guys like Marlon Moraes against Rivera, so it's not like I'm just fading him because of his recent fights, but man, between that knockout loss and the loss against Sterling, where we kind of just saw him quit in his corner, you're saying, I don't feel it, and that's not usually like Jimmy Rivera. He's been getting more emotionally kind of worked up. I got to see where he's at. And what does the UFC do? They give him this beast who is, in my opinion, the next thing, Peter Yan. I've been watching this guy since ACB. This guy's no joke. He deserves the hype. I'm picking him here. I feel like he's actually decent parlay fodder. And as far as like round props go, I took a flyer on round 3. I think you're getting like plus 2,000 odds because they're bantamweights for Peter Yan, because I think it's either going to be a decision for volume, or he's going to break him down for maybe a late stoppage, which sounds crazy because Jimmy Rivera is a tough guy. That being said, if you are a Rivera supporter, I don't blame anybody for that. Peter Yan, he got dropped by left hands against John Dotson. He's been hit by decent left hooks against almost everybody he's fought in the UFC. What's Jimmy Rivera's money punch, George? It's the left hook. So in my opinion, I don't see Jimmy Rivera submitting, and I don't see him putting him enough volume because he kind of fades. Another reason why I put the third round on Yan. I don't see him winning a decision against Yan. Jimmy Rivera's most likely path to victory here is by KO. And what's crazy is you'll see those props from 400 to 800 to 1,000. I think it's like plus 1,250 or something just for the prop Jimmy Rivera by KO. So if you're a Jimmy Rivera supporter and your house carries that prop, that's one worth looking for. That's a ridiculous number on that prop.
Good stuff. All right. What about Blagoy Ivanov versus Tai Tuivasa?
Blagoy.
Almost an even fight, but Tuivasa's a minus 135. Blagoy comes back at plus 105.
Ivanov, it's really easy to look at his body and look at his, he always looks like he has, when you're like at the acid indigestion, you're kind of fighting it off. Someone's talking, you're like, give me a second. Let me just, like, he looks like he's constantly in that state, right, Blagoy? Like, he's like, Blagoy, you see him as extreme to do it. And so it's very easy to write him off. I think people are. It was a deceptively close fight against Rothwell. I picked Rothwell. I scored it for Rothwell. But I think people do that thing where they go, oh, that guy should have lost. He's definitely going to lose this time. Look at him. And they look at Tuivasa, who granted was, it was a bit tubby early in his career too. You could easily write him off, but Tuivasa much more faster, athletic, explosive. But again, man, like I took Tuivasa. I was the only one on staff picks to pick Andrei Arlovsky back the last time UFC was in Chicago. I looked kind of crazy, but not after the fight, right?
Right.
I mean, you look at how that went. Then you see how the fight against Junior Dos Santos
That's because Tuivasa answered questions about questionable cardio that night, remember?
Yeah, it was the first time he's went out of the first round, and granted his cardio looks better. He looks in better shape coming into this one, but so does Ivanov, man. I didn't expect to say that about him, but I looked at him at the weigh-in today. He looked in better shape, and what's my favorite underdog archetype, guys? Durable southpaws who can wrestle. And who's the main type of guys I tend to fade? Athletic knockout artists who barely get out of the first round. Now you got the athletic knockout artist who barely gets out of the first round against a guy who has never been stopped, who beat Fedor when Fedor was Fedor, who got stabbed in the heart. I mean,
was in a coma for 3 months.
So essentially, you're betting Tuivasa, who has been a steady favorite. You're essentially saying, and I get it, he's a lovable guy. You see him on the embedded videos. I hate picking against this guy, but I keep picking against him because I got to see more from technical skills. You can't just be an athletic stud. You have to be more. And I know people hate that. I'm not going to get back on that rant again, but you have to be more. It's not enough.
Can Ansaroff beat Tatiana Suarez, or is she just going to get mauled for 3 rounds?
It's tough. The line actually could be a little tighter. Ansaroff, we're talking about retirement. She only looks better each time. She's moving better. She's balancing better. Her boxing technique is growing. Her boxing technique looked really good. She had jabs, uppercuts, something that could work against Suarez. But you guys know I'm a big Suarez fan. And I got Suarez here, but I think we need to be careful about putting the cart before the horse, or however that saying goes, because we still need to see Suarez strike.
Does Ansaroff stop takedowns often?
Not too well. Okay. She's been taken down by Marcos Granite, who's a wrestler, or Gedalia Granite, who has good takedowns. But She shows improvements there, but it's the fact that Tatiana chains her takedowns, and then she gets the body lock where strength becomes a factor, and she is stronger than probably everybody in that division.
One more. We got like 45 seconds. Pedro Munoz and Aljamain
Hardest
Sterling.
fight to pick. You can. I didn't put this on the avoid list, even though it was the hardest fight to pick, because I feel like this is one of those weird fights where you can make the argument that one guy is the antithesis for the other.
Oh.
You know, the reason why I picked Caraway and cashed those odds because I thought a guy who can grapple with Sterling but bring that pressure on boxing to win the scorecards, that's going to win it, and it did. But when I bet for guys like Johns to do that, it didn't because Sterling got better. So I agree that Sterling's a favorite. I came in leaning toward him because I hate picking against him, but I also always pick against Pedro Munoz and his porous defense, but it doesn't matter. He's shown that he can even take the shots from Cody Garbrandt, one of the best boxers and hardest hitters in the division. So I'm actually going to take Pedro Munoz. He seems really pissed off here, but I'm avoiding it.
All right, we'll see if we get to some more fights in the second hour, but right now we got to move on. It's the top of the hour break. When we come back, we'll be talking to former Strikeforce light heavyweight champion King Mo Lawal, who hung him up earlier this week via social media. We'll talk to him and why he arrived at that decision. We'll be right back.
Their mantles are covered with participation awards. They have boxes of gold stars that they purchase themselves. They are the legends and demand your respect. Here are George and Goes.
All right, we're back to start the second hour here. We're going to talk to our first guest, good friend of the show, Muhammed Lawal, better known as King Mo, a former Strikeforce light heavyweight champion and also a Ryzen heavyweight Grand Prix champion, former wrestler at Oklahoma State, and also wrestled on the international level, for the United States. What's up, King Mo? How you doing?
Oh, man, I'm good, man. Chilling. What about y'all?
What's up with your voice? You sick?
Oh, man, I don't know. I had something in my throat, man. Clear it, though. Clear my throat real quick.
All right. Well, look, I wasn't caught off guard per se, but I was. So, in other words, when I heard you retire, I was like, no way. I just thought you would be back. But, again, it didn't take much of a reminder to know that, man, your body's been put through the grinder. Hips, knees, and, you just physically, combat sports in general, wrestling and MMA, has done a lot to you. So that right away let me know, in reading all that it was right. It was the right time, So congratulations on a fabulous career. You had some major accomplishments, fun to watch, great, one of our favorite interviews to have when we would talk to you pre and post fight. You know what I mean? But I guess we had some additional questions for you.
Oh yeah, that's cool. That's cool. So,
is it? Well, first of all, how do you feel? I mean, it's 3 or 4 days now since the announcement went out, and I'm sure people have sent you well wishes, and you've seen a lot of kind things written about you. But no regrets. You feel really, really good about the decision. Was it one that took a long time to come up with?
Nah, really, first and foremost, I want to thank all the fans and everybody that showed me love, because I wasn't expecting that much. I was expecting a lot less, but I got a lot of love. But I want to thank everybody that showed me some love. But I feel good, man. It was time for me to step away body couldn't. I couldn't practice it. I couldn't train the way I wanted to. I couldn't move the way I wanted to. I couldn't recover the way I wanted to. And I was just banged up, man. Couldn't do nothing.
How long has this been like that? Where like what you're describing now? I mean, you've always had aches and pains, but when was it to the point where you couldn't, like you said, just get to practice and do a practice?
Well, I pushed through a lot of practice, but I remember one time I had to go to Ireland to do some press for the Ishii fight. And when I got off the plane, that cold was so rough on my hip. Whenever I take a step, it felt like someone stabbed me in my hip. And ever since then, like up until I had my hip surgery, my hip felt like that. It hurt to walk. I could put my shoe on, couldn't take my shoe off. I couldn't do nothing, man. Couldn't get out the car, walk upstairs, walk downstairs. It was painful until I had that surgery done. That surgery changed my life around.
Jeez,
that
is pretty
brutal,
bad,
doesn't it?
It sure does. Yeah. Should you have even fought the last fight?
You know what? I could. The thing is, man, I couldn't train. Just couldn't train the way I wanted to. Just my body. I'm just getting older. Body's getting worn. My body's more worn down. Just wear and tear. Not recovering as fast. Man, like I'm an old man now. I when I first got into the game, everyone the older fighters would tell me, "Man, Mo, when you get old, this is gonna happen, that's gonna happen." And I was thinking to myself, "Man, y'all are crazy because I ain't gonna be like that. I'm gonna be young, so and fresh." And now, fast forward, I'm like, man, I feel old. I'm like, look at me. I got like gray in my beard, man. I'm like, damn.
Would you have retired even if you won? Would that have been the last fight, the one in Japan?
I would try to get one more in. I was gonna try to. I was gonna try to end out the year, finish the year out if I could. That's the plan.
And another thing, was it also one of those where this is just not a sport where, like, for example, if you made $5 million a year or $10 million a year, like some of these guys in baseball or basketball make, and then you say, okay, I'm not at my best, but that's too good of money to pass up. Is that another reason, or was money never in the equation?
Well, money matters, if you want to, but the fact of the matter is, I'm gonna need a knee replacement, a hip replacement, an elbow replacement. All that. That right there. I'm talking about both hips. You know what I'm saying? So like all that right there. You know what I'm saying? Like the times I had, the amount of time I put into sports, I did, and the experiences I had was worth it. But the money, you're still paying their consequences, with or without the money.
Mm-hmm. All right, Goes. What do you have for King Mo?
Mo, what I've admired about you in your career is you always took chances and you always tried to better yourself. You tried a lot of things at the time that other fighters weren't doing. You went over to the Mayweather's gym. You've been out in Vegas. You've been out in Florida. You've done a lot of changes in your career. Can you maybe share, now that it's all said and done, what were the things that worked and what were the things that didn't?
Well, it's weird because I made a lot of changes, and I had to make a lot of changes because I had so many injuries that my athleticism was gone. I used to be able to jump, hit my elbow on the rim, do all sorts of stuff. Now I can't even jump and hit the net. So I had to make adjustments. I had to look around and be like, and I had to think like, what am I lacking? What should I build up on? And what I was thinking what should I build up on? So at the time when I went to AKA, I seen that AKA was a great gym. The fighters were always in shape, great camaraderie. So I made a lot of my choices based upon what I was lacking. That's one thing fighters need to do. That's one thing that worked. 2, I made a lot of my choices based upon not fad per se, but where I fit in. Because some people try hard to fit in places they can't fit in. Go to a place you can fit in and feel respected. Because when you feel respected, you get a lot of things done.
I like that.
Now, a lot of things that didn't work that I bought into was more like training stuff, like bad training. You got some of these machines. I spent a lot of money on these dumbass machines y'all got to buy. Recovery stuff, man. You don't need all that stuff, man. Just keep it simple. Ice bath, sauna, stretch, the nutrition. All the other stuff, man. Maybe when like cold blazers, if you got a person that has one, but all the other stuff, man, it's just the bird. There's a lot of things out there that come and go, man. But it's the old school is the thing that that always sticks around, man. That's one thing you can always depend on. The old school mentality.
I subscribe to that, man. I agree with you there. Look, when BJ Penn was talking retirement, there's certain individuals that bring things to the sport, and hearing BJ's music come out, just to know that eventually that's going to go away, kind of sucked. And what I had always said was, I hope at one point, maybe that's something that gets passed on to another Hawaiian, say like a Max Holloway or someone like that. The way you come out with your swag, being the king and all that, is there anyone that you would ever anoint to take that spot? Is there a prince in this game? Someone that, like Ronda Rousey, right? She asked Roddy Piper for permission to do that. Would you ever have anyone that you would have in mind that you would want to kind of carry that banner?
Not at all. I put it like this. Whoever's confident enough and wants to do it, just go ahead and do it. Because sometimes you live and die by it. When you take on that role and you put that crown on, man, look, you gotta go out there and win. There are times I won, there are times I lost. And I went out there and I walked like a man, I walked like a man. You know what I'm saying? So, you just know when you put that crown on, when you have a persona, just know that you're putting a target on your back. So be prepared to take the good and the bad that comes with it.
Gotcha. All right. Dan Tom, our fight analyst, what do you have for King Mo?
I like that you were mentioning, the kind of, not the pro wrestling, but, or gimmick is the word. But when you guys were talking, I couldn't help but think of Henry Cejudo. Did you see any of Henry Cejudo's kind of fight week gimmicks? He kind of had and he didn't do it quite like you, King Mo, but he had the crown, the cape, a couple other things attached. You catch any of that this week?
Yeah, he looked like the Mad King.
The Mad King. That's great. So does that mean King Mo approves of what Henry Cejudo's bringing to the table right now?
Yep, because that's Henry Cejudo. Henry has a lot of personality, man. He's showing y'all bits and pieces, but Henry has a whole lot of personality in there. I'm glad he's showing this to the world.
I hear you. And another thing you said earlier was old school, and I was going to ask you. Speaking of old school, and you already kind of rehashed the process of coming to retirement with the injuries, but with the hip in particular, Mo, I believe Minotauro, Big Nog, Nogueira had issues with that toward the end of his career. Did you reach out to him or any fighters that you knew that had similar issues, kind of maybe pick their brain and see how they dealt with it?
No, because I knew Nogueira had it because I trained with him, and I knew. I was like, man, I could tell. I was like, geez, I could tell how he ran and how he moved, and I could feel that movement. I was developing that movement because my hip was so messed up. So I was like, man, I have to get this. I was like, I have to get the surgery done. I have to get it done. So the thing is, I talked to a few guys, the kickboxers that the kickboxer got done. He took one fight. And that's about it. So I went to surfacehippie.info on the website, just read up on it, looked up the top surgeon and found him and picked his brain and told him that what I do. And he was like, all right, well, here's the goal. Let's do the surgery. The main goal is I want you to destroy this hip if you can, because I'm pretty confident in what I do. He gave me that Birmingham hip services, and I can train with it.
Gotcha. Last one from me, Mo. Kind of a broad question, but I don't mean it in the common way of wins or losses, fights you won, or this or that. But is there any maybe story attached to a fight in your career? Any point of your career that you can look back to that's maybe not number one, maybe that's too hard to ask, but it's definitely top three when you look back at the MMA portion of your career?
Man, I really don't know, man. Like, because it really still kind of fresh. I didn't really have a chance to go back and think about that. Because I honestly, like, when the fight's end, I just go forward. I really haven't had a chance to sit back and look back in the past and really dwell on much besides injuries. Because that's about it. That's the main thing that scarred me most of my career. That's one thing I remember most of my career. And even more than my wins is those injuries, man.
Well, I'll just give you mine. It was when you won the title in the Strikeforce. That's always going to be a memorable one, from the fight itself to the post fight that you did after, where you're kind of laying on your back over there. I believe Casey Leydon and some other people were filming that with Ariel. And also, I'll remember you for this show. On this show was the first time I heard anybody hyping up Dagestan and saying, we don't know about Dagestan. And wait, you just wait, America. You're going to learn about Dagestan the hard way. And I didn't know. We thought you were joking, Mo. I remember, George and Goes were like, oh, you're making that place up. That's not even a real place on the map, Mo. And sure enough, you were right, man. You like many things, you were right. So thank you, Mo.
No problem.
Hey, Mo, who were you surprised to hear from? Whether it was an enemy or a hater or just someone that maybe was never your best friend. Did you get that type of message as well, where you were like, hey, that was cool of him or her?
Nah, just like, I don't know, everyone I knew that I was cool with hit me up, and just fans that I never thought I really had. I knew I had fans, but there are people hitting me up from all over the world that, like, I don't know, it's just weird, that when you're fighting, you just worry about fighting and your opponent and camp and being healthy and this and that, and you really don't think about your fan base. Really, you do, but you don't until when it's all said and done. You realize, like, I got a fan base. I had a lot of fans. I really never thought about the fans really until now, because I got so much love coming back to me.
Mm-hmm. Mo, you got a lot of work ahead of you in terms of you said the upcoming surgeries. Is anybody going to assist you with that? Like, are you, by retiring, like, are you giving up a benefit or a privilege coming to you from Ryzen or from Bellator? Has that been discussed at all? I mean, I know that can be pretty expensive, or will that just be part of, like, your new employer, benefits package? In this case, I guess you're going to be a wrestling coach with the American Top Team, right?
Well, I got health insurance, so I'm pretty sure, like, I'm going to pay something for these surgeries, but my health insurance is going to knock some of that stuff off, So I'll be all right. I'll be all right with some of that.
Mm-hmm. Now, Steve Mako's also a wrestling coach. Is ATT just so big that you need a few of them, or are you doing wrestling and other stuff, or how does that work?
Well, I'm kind of like an all-around coach, I guess. I'm just like, a second, like, if Dean needs me, I'm there. I'm just like a technique guy. I'm just there to assist and to help clean up some things. I'm not trying to step in on nobody's toes. If nobody's head coach, I'm there to really help and, like, just add and just throw my knowledge into the mix when I can. That's about it.
What's your first assignment? Do you already have a fighter saying, "Hey, I want you to be in my corner," and they've already given you a date?
No, just. I'm open. Like, there's fighters I've been working with. Like, I'm not gonna mention, like, names, because, like, I'm, like, it's me to talk. I don't feel like that's the business. But, like, there's fighters I work with right now, and been working with them for like a few weeks, and I guess we can continue to keep on working on things, both striking, grappling, wrestling, all around MMA. I'm just like an all around MMA coach.
That's cool. You excited? Have you officially started, or do you still have some time to back away and just, like I guess enjoy, your career for a few weeks or a month or whatever?
I kind of started 2 weeks after the fight. I've been coaching in the gym pretty much 2 weeks after the fight ended.
Mm-hmm. I just want to tell you, thanks for the memories. Seriously, like you've been a big part of our show's growth as well. You came in here and co-hosted with us a lot. You broadcasted with us, amateur fights. You were always someone we could lean on in terms of a phone call, or whatever. Hell, there were often times where you broke down fights with us. You were awesome with the fans, man. So you've been a big part of like our careers, So thank you, man. Not just for the fights, but your friendship, means a lot to us.
Oh man, I appreciate it, man. I appreciate y'all, man. I'm a junkie for life. I know that.
Thank you, and I hope people don't just remember you as a former Strikeforce light heavyweight champion and a Ryzen heavyweight Grand Prix champion. I mean, you got some really, really solid wins on the wall, some skins on the wall, I like to call them. Mark Kerr, he won a UFC tournament. Gegard Mousasi, he's the current Bellator middleweight champion, and he was a former Strikeforce light heavyweight champion. He was also a former Dream champion. Roger Gracie, probably the greatest grappler to ever grapple. It's what a lot of top-level guys say. An Abu Dhabi multiple absolute winner and heavyweight winner who, came over to mixed martial arts. But it's not like they just stood, So I thought that was a great win for you as well.
Coleslaw.
Coleslaw, yeah. Quentin Jackson's a former UFC light heavyweight champion. Chick Congo's fighting for the Bellator heavyweight title. You know what I mean? Satoshi Ishii's a former judoka gold medalist. So you did a lot, man, and it was all over the world, and it was for a lot of different organizations. So you proved yourself as one of the top money-weight fighters out there. It didn't matter who was in front of you. You went out there fearless, and you should be really, really proud of what you leave behind.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man. I really never thought about it until now. I'm excited about the future. That's one thing I'm excited about. Because the guys are getting bigger, stronger, faster, and smarter.
Right.
The knowledge out there is vast, and I'm seeing a lot of these guys like Israel Adesanya. You're seeing more and more creativity. MVP. Guys. Raymond Daniels. That stuff he did was nasty. I like the creativity I'm seeing in the sport. And that's going to take the sport a long ways.
Mm-hmm. Please let us know the next time you're in Vegas. We'd love to have you back in studio. Hopefully, one of these fighters that you're coaching brings you this way, or if you're just casually in town, we'd love to have you back more and, talk a little bit more about your fabulous career. Not just with the MMA, but obviously it's fun to talk wrestling with you too. Pro wrestling and
definitely.
And international level wrestling, collegiate level wrestling, it's all a blast. You're a wealth of knowledge.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I definitely hit y'all up.
All right, Mo. Take care. Thanks for the time tonight.
All right, y'all leave.
All right. See you, man. There you have it, folks. King Mo, former Strikeforce light heavyweight champ and Ryzen heavyweight Grand Prix champion, calling it a career. And you could tell in his voice that I think he's decompressing right now. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. He just recently retired.
But he sounds like he's in a good place.
Yes, yeah. He didn't seem in any way like depressed or anything. You could just tell like he's probably somebody that's probably going to reflect for the next few weeks, on what he did and what might be next for him. Can't say enough about American Top Team, especially Dan Lambert and how much he looks after his guys. They offered him a position there to be a wrestling coach, but like Mo explained on our show, he'll be helping a lot of the guys and gals with different facets of the game. So very cool. That team just keeps expanding its base of coaches. All right, folks, we're going to take a quick break. You're listening to MMA Junkie Radio on Fight Nation Channel 156. Stay close. We'll be right back. 6m.com/Gaga. Do that before June 17th. No additional purchase is necessary to enter or to win. All right, I want to welcome to the show Francis Ngannou, UFC heavyweight, who's got a big fight coming up against Junior Dos Santos on June 29th. It's UFC on ESPN 3 in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Welcome, Francis. How you doing?
I'm doing good.
It's great to have you here again on MMA Junkie Radio. We've had you on the phone, but never in our studio, so thanks for stopping by on a Friday. I hope we didn't ruin the weekend plans.
No, it's not the weekend yet.
Oh, okay.
The weekend start tomorrow afternoon.
Oh, I got you. All right. Hey, by the way, when they told you you're not fighting in Vegas, which is kind of like your new hometown, you're going to Minneapolis, were you not angry, but disappointed? You know, like, did it bother you or did it matter to you?
No. It didn't bother me because, I mean, they didn't tell us like that. They was like, okay, guys, we have, how about if you fight in 1 week earlier in Minneapolis, you're going to be on ESPN, the main event. We need you there, and we think that is going to be something good for you. And then I take a look, and I agree with that. So it didn't bother me. I totally agree with that.
Well, it bothered me because I wanted to see you and Junior Dos Santos at the T-Mobile Arena, and I get to watch you on ESPN, but I really wanted to watch that one in person with my beer, my popcorn, because, man, you guys are some of the hardest hitters.
You can still fly in Minneapolis.
What's that?
You can still fly in
That's
Minneapolis.
True. That's
you
true.
don't need visa to go there.
Well, it's only 1 week before. At least we didn't get, sometimes the news is a fight's just not happening, like what happened with Robbie Lawler.
Yeah.
In the main event there against why am I spacing it? Tyron Woodley. Tyron Woodley. So Francis Ngannou and Junior Dos Santos are stepping in, and it's going to be 1 week earlier, but it's on big ESPN. So I think this could bring a lot of eyeballs to a lot of the casual fans, like the ones here in the Mandalay Bay watching all these sports. Now they get to watch these big guys dance.
Yeah, and I've actually seen some of the ads at the bottom there for this weekend's card. So I mean, that's a big stage right there. It's the NBA Finals.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Francis, this would be back-to-back former champions in the UFC. Another chance to make a big statement, because I'll tell you what, when you beat Cain Velasquez, wow, that was, Cain is one of the great ones that we talk about in this sport, and you went out there and took him down.
Yes, and, the sport is what is it. Sometimes things happen, and I think I'm gonna disappoint some people again.
Did that win feel extra special because of Cain's legacy, being a former champion multiple times?
No, I think it's not about like his legacy.
Mm-hmm.
When I always say it, when I started watch MMA, I watched guys like Alistair Overeem, Cain Velasquez, Junior Dos Santos, Brock Lesnar. At the time, I mean, this was just like 5 years and a half ago in 2000, by me 2013. Then I went on YouTube, watched those people, and then I'm like, wow, this is a monster. And for me, it was like, okay, if ever I have to fight them, or if ever I fight them, that means I'm a great fighter too, because that was my perspective of being a great fighter.
Nice. All right.
So that's kind of my personal challenge.
One other question for me, and then I'll turn it over to the guys. What did you think of, or did you see Andy Ruiz and Anthony Joshua last week, and what do you think? I know boxing is your first love, but when you see something like that, wow,
I think that was a shock for everyone. No one didn't expect that to happen, but man, I don't know. For somehow, like 1 week before, I watched them. I was like scrolling on my social. Then I saw this Andy release. Then I'm like, this was a workout. Then I was like, damn, this guy, you have to watch out. He might disappoint somebody, But I couldn't expect that he would be 1 week after and be Anthony Joshua. He's the Anthony Joshua.
Yeah.
So I'm like, yes, he's good, moving fast for heavyweight.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, when you see his body, you can't imagine that. But when he's moved there, when he's boxed, it's just perfect. I'm like, this guy gonna surprise somebody. And 1 week after, boom, Anthony Joshua.
He knocked him down 4 times.
Yeah,
basically
unbelievable.
Yeah, I don't know if officially he made him quit or the referee, because I thought he was answering all the referee's questions. But either way, that was super impressive. But I just keep thinking about Joshua and Stipe.
But I think Anthony Joshua underestimated.
Yeah,
I think
for
so.
Sure.
He underestimated, and a lot of people who have done the same thing.
Yeah.
Yes, but he's ready to surprise people.
When you watch these boxers, do you think back to your boxing days and think, I might have something for these guys someday? Someday. I know your first objective is UFC.
Yes.
Yeah,
for
all
sure.
right. You got hands, my man. Yeah, I'd love to see it.
I grew up with that dream. I mean, when you grow up, you live with some dream for like 15 years. You just don't get rid of it like this. You know, it's the kind of part of you.
All right. Goes, what do you have for Francis Ngannou?
On the topic of Anthony Joshua, people now are going back to like interviews that he was doing, and they were even showing him before the fight. And some people were saying he just looked different. No? As a fighter, being around your opponent, have you ever been able to look at an opponent and just say, something is a little different here? His mindset doesn't seem focused. Can you ever pick that up by just looking at somebody and talking with them?
No, I mean, like, sometimes you can see that the guy is worried, but you can't tell if he's worried about the fight or about something else going on in his life. So you can't really tell, and I think it's just normal when some fighter is worried for the fight week, because we almost like kind of like stressed, because it's some moment very important. You have to put down the hard work that you've been doing, and you have to do it perfectly. You just have a short window of time to show your best performance. Otherwise, you lose it.
How are you liking Las Vegas? What are the things that you like the most, and what are some of the things that are not so much fun?
Okay, I'll start for the thing that is not so much fun. The summer.
Oh, I know. Yeah.
I think we all agree with that. That summer in Las Vegas is not so much fun. I get burned by my car a few times.
Oh, wow.
But besides that, I think everything is good here. I really enjoy it here. I love it, and how my training goes, how the life here is. I mean, the life out of the strip, because the strip is another world, and the life in Las Vegas is totally different things, and that's what I like. You know, the mountain. You are like in the middle of desert, but like you have mountain 1 hour there. You have a lake. You can go jet ski, boat, whatever. You can go ski if you're a skier, and all it's just around. So we have everything here.
You do any of that? Ski or water ski or jet ski, or no?
I don't ski, but I go to the mountain.
Yeah, okay.
A lot.
Okay.
Do you ski?
I used to.
Yeah?
I can't now because of my knee, but I used to ski, but I never snowboarded. But I used to ski, and I got to be okay.
I snowboard once, but I kept falling and falling. Everybody keeps saying it's harder than skiing.
I skied a few times while I was in Paris, but now I think it's unnecessary risk for me.
True.
Basically, for my knees, 265-pound guys on the ski, fall down, hurt his knee, maybe lose some fight. It's not necessary.
Yeah.
I like your story about boxing and that being kind of like your first love in combat sports. Can you maybe lay out what would be the perfect scenario for you in mixed martial arts? You're fighting for the title. Where would you want it, and against who?
I don't get it. Can you?
The perfect scenario, like if they told you, you finally made it to your dream in mixed martial arts. You're gonna fight for the title, and they say you pick where you want it and against who. What would make you the most proud?
Where? In Cameroon. I know it's not soon to happen, but I would like
to. Is it Bechi, where you were raised in? Did I say that right?
I was born and raised in Batier.
Batier, okay.
Yes, but it's a small village.
What's close to Batier, where the fight can happen?
No, we would say like Yaoundé or Douala,
okay,
which is like the most biggest city in Cameroon.
Wow.
And against who? Definitely against Stevie.
Yeah,
against Stevie. Okay.
Yes, because I have an undone deal with him.
Nice.
All right.
Wow.
When if we were to talk to some of your friends growing up when you were younger, and we asked them, did you think Francis would eventually grow up and be a big mega star? Would they say, yeah, that seems like his personality?
No. Nobody would never say that.
No.
It was just unbelievable. Nobody could expect that to happen. I mean, not just to be a star, but only to be a boxer. You know, that when I came out with that dream, it sounded like I was crazy. Nobody believed in. They were like, "Hey man, you know what? Calm down. Okay, it's good to be like to dream, but at the end of the day, you need to land in the real life and then face the truth." You know. Then now I'm like, yes, maybe, but at least I have to try. Then, you know, I have a right to fail. It's all what build us, you know. We fail and we learn from it and we move on. That's how. And that was my mindset at the time. By myself, I mean, I could feel it that something could happen. But the fact wasn't the way that you could say, yes, it's obvious, you know. Yes, nobody could expect it. I think that surprised everyone.
All right, Dan, what do you have for Francis Ngannou?
Hey, Francis, first I have to say massive, great job on your English. It's I hear it improve every time since you moved here. I just wanted to say fantastic job. I have to ask you, everybody has their own theories, like, you know, I studied French in school, but you can't speak to me in French because I'm not very good. They didn't stick. I would have to go somewhere to speak a language better, and everybody's different. I hear some people say movies are a big key to helping them learn language. Has American movies at all been a help for you? Have you implemented any of those exercises?
I think first of all, it's a matter of purpose.
Okay.
You know, me too. I went to school. I didn't go to high school or in college, but I did take some English classes, but at that time it was just for the grade, so it was just like, okay, I want to pass my grade, and then after, well, you put that and put it away, you know. Then when I realized that I need English, I wanted to, then I started put myself into get involved about learning English. Every chance that I could take it, I didn't hesitate. You know, like movies, it wasn't easy. I tried translator, internet, books. I even I took some classes sometime when time allowed me. I mean, I did what I can, you know.
And speaking of the movies, have you dabbled in any American movies? I know on your Instagram here, I don't know if it was for a joke, but you have one of my favorites, Eddie Murphy, Coming to America.
Yeah.
One of the movies I've seen the most in my life. I love that movie. Have you seen that movie? Do you have any favorite American movies? Anything?
Whoa, you know, it's gonna be very hard to tell because I grew up in Cameroon, and the most sport out there was soccer.
Okay.
But I never feel myself like a soccer guy. The only thing that was my passion was action, and the only thing that I can relate into was movie. So I have seen a lot of movie, you know, like all those movies, The Predator, Terminator, Universal Soldier. My thing was movie. My thing is still movie. Even now, my thing is movies.
Action movies.
Yes,
Okay.
action movie.
What's your favorite part of Predator? I'll tell you mine, and I want to know if this translated.
Yes.
There's a character, Jesse Ventura. Hopefully the translation went well, because my favorite line, he goes, "Hey, you're bleeding." He goes, "I don't got time to bleed." Do you remember that? Remember that line?
No. My favorite time in Predator,
Okay.
I mean, that mostly one of the reasons that I like that nickname, I prefer that nickname, is when, Schwarzenegger, he touched the lift, and there was some green thing, and he was like, "Is what they say, his blood." Then he said, if he's bleeding, that means he could die. The hope, he believed that he could die. And the fact that he believed at that was the only reason that he was the one stay alive. Because all those people that was just like shooting, but just panicking, but nobody really believed in it. He believed, and the hope helped him to survive.
They
my
became
favorite
the
part.
hunters because they were being the hunted. You're right. I remember that.
Yeah.
I bet you think of that scene every time you sign a fight contract, right? If he believes he can die, right?
Did you guys know? I'm not 100% sure. I'm like 99% sure. Jean-Claude Van Damme was the original Predator. For like the first couple days of filming.
Oh, wow. I didn't know
But he didn't know that they were going to put a mask over him, and he didn't like that, so he quit. And when he quit, he ended up doing Bloodsport. So it kind of worked out, but I think for a couple days
I didn't
he was
know that.
actually the Predator.
Wow, I didn't know that. Wow.
Under the suit.
But I think Bloodsport worked more than
It worked out.
the Predator, because they have like 4 of Bloodsport. Yes.
Yeah.
So it was kind of like, when they're doing and keep doing, that means it's working.
Yeah.
I think there should be a law where if you are at home and you change the channel and the Predator is on, you cannot change. You have to watch.
You had to
all
watch
the way
it.
through.
Yep.
You have to watch it. It's awesome.
Really?
I can't change it. There's a few movies, once I'm seeing it, I have to go all the way.
No, I think
When I hear that music.
No, I think it's relative.
Yeah?
So something that you enjoy, that you like it, you might say that is the best thing in the world. Somebody can say that is the worst thing in the world.
Yeah.
So everyone has the right to like what he like.
Yeah.
I think so.
We were talking about school. You liked math when you were growing up?
I mean, that was my favorite thing, and that's why I wanted to become
Architect?
an accountant first,
okay.
accounting first, then architect after, because when I discover architecture, I was kind of pretty good at it. I could understand how it was, and I wanted to, but I couldn't. But yes, I like math.
That was interesting. I was watching the work there on Francis Ngannou Foundation.org, and that video talking about you growing up and what you're doing for the kids. That's so cool, because it reminds me of the things I've seen some athletes that are doing here, like LeBron James, and what he's doing for a lot of these kids to provide a school or a place to go and train or play and be a kid or whatever. So that was really, really commendable, Francis, that you're doing that. I really enjoyed that, and I enjoyed your visit back to Bachi in Cameroon, and you talking to those guys to work hard, and even teasing them about how hard you used to work. That was really, really interesting.
I mean, it's not teasing them. You can come up with your story, whatever you want, but I belong there. Oh, they know me there. You can't go there and start say anything.
No, what I mean is that you used to work. You used to get more work done than they did, or something like. Isn't that what you said?
They know that because I was there. Yeah. They have seen me in life before.
Oh, okay.
It's not like a story that they are telling them. It's something that they was there. They were there themselves and seeing him. Most of these guys, when I go back, is guys that we were there together. Sometimes go play soccer together. Sometimes go work together.
Okay.
So I go back, so I can. I don't have to tell them that I used to do this. They know that because we were doing that together.
Yeah, they said you were a really, really hard worker. You started at age 11.
Yes, kind of, maybe 10 by 10.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it was really cool to see the people call you champion.
We didn't have I didn't have choice. I mean, we just did it because it was our only way out. to try to go to school, try to feed ourselves, our family. Yes, until like because we have to do that to pay school, have to do that sometimes to help at home, to get food. But you know.
Mm-hmm. But I'm sure that felt good in your heart the way they received you. In fact, some of them were saying we thought we would never be able to see you, and you came there, back to Cameroon, and it was really, really cool. Some were even like teary-eyed,
Mm-hmm.
So that connection you've made with the people in Cameroon is awesome.
Yes, yes, that's cool when for them, but for me, I think it's cooler because I don't know. I'm enjoying what I'm doing. I enjoy my life, but when I go back home, I kind of like enjoy myself more. When I go back there, I kind of I'm able to see how far I have gone. Like I'm just UFC fighter. I'm Francis Ngannou, another UFC fighter, and then you can't really understand the story from here. But when you're back there looking at these people, you remember like, okay, 6 years ago or 8 years ago, we were here doing all those things together. How I couldn't imagine. Who could imagine? Could tell that this could happen? Nobody, So you kind of like have this flash, and you're just like, wow, it's kind of amazed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Soccer is the number one sport there in Cameroon. Roger Mila is somebody I grew up watching in the 1990 World Cup. He scored 4 goals. He was 38. I mean, that's older for a striker. And then he came back at age 42 and scored as well in the 1994 World Cup. Nowadays, another guy that was really good was Samuel Eto'o. Played for Barcelona, I think Chelsea.
He was awesome.
Yeah, he was really, really good.
Inter de Milan.
Inter Milan?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
And then Maca.
But you never gravitated to soccer at all, not even as a defenseman or a goalie because of your size or nothing?
No. First of all, it wasn't like my thing, I didn't feel like I love this thing.
Oh, I see.
I played soccer. You have to when you're somewhere like Cameroon. I play. We have a soccer team in our city. Maybe our city will play again another city. At school, our class will play another class. But it wasn't like my thing.
Okay. All right, we got to take a quick break. It's MMA Junkie Radio on Fight Nation, channel 156. Stay close. We'll be right back. We got UFC heavyweight Francis Ngannou in studio. He'll be fighting on June 29th versus Junior Dos Santos, a former UFC heavyweight. They're headlining UFC on ESPN 3. So we'll talk a little bit more about that when we come back.
Good, you're still here. The boys were just getting warmed up. Now the real show begins. Take it away, boys.
All right, Francis, let me ask you something here. Are you one of those fighters that likes to predict other fights or no? Some fighters do, some fighters don't. Do you have a prediction on Moraes versus Cejudo tomorrow?
Like prediction, no, but I know it's gonna be a tough fight because Moraes is very dedicated to win this fight. He's not going there to joke tomorrow, but man, the thing is like Cejudo, he's tough, man, and he's good. He's a very good wrestler. I mean, like probably the best, and he's tough.
Yeah.
So how Moraes gonna beat Cejudo? I think, in my opinion, the only way is if he knock him out.
And your teammate Jessica Ai is in the co-main event against Valentina Shevchenko. I'm sure you'll be cheering for her.
That fight gonna be kind of tough too because of Jessica put a lot of work.
Yeah.
And Valentina is kind of like she's a badass.
For sure.
That's for sure. She's a badass.
Yeah.
She's gonna go there for her, but I think I don't know, but I'm also excited for Cerrone and
that's Ferguson. That's gonna be a great fight.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for stopping by the studio. It was really fun to have you here. I hope you have a safe camp for the few weeks that's left before Junior Dos Santos, and I can't wait to see that fight against the former UFC heavyweight champion Junior Dos Santos. Francis Ngannou, our guest here. Thank you so much for coming by the studio.
Thank you.
All right, I want to thank all of our guests for the week. Jessica Ai, Eric Nixick, they visited the studio on Monday. Lyoto Machida, Neiman Gracie, Kelvin Tiller, Joseph Benavidez, Lillian Garcia, Sean O'Connell, Burt Watson, Muhammed Lawal, a.k.a. King Mo, and, of course, Francis Ngannou here stopping by the studio. Don't forget, MMA Junkie's got you covered all weekend for UFC 238, so keep hitting that refresh button, and don't forget we have an app that's available on the tablets or on the smartphones. Goz and I will be here in studio tomorrow for our watch-along party for UFC 238, so tune in tomorrow at 10 Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific, although we may get here a little bit early. Dan's podcast, the Protect Your Neck podcast, check it out. You can check out all his predictions for the fights, and, of course, leave him a review, just like we want you to do that for MMA Junkie Radio. All right, for Andre back east, Dan, Goz, and Francis, I'm George. Have a nice weekend. Go out there and be a champion.
Kick some ass.
All right, we're clear.